Good evening and welcome to this week's episode of Sunday Night Live, your favorite automotive show where we talk about all things automotive. Front of the store, back of the store, middle of the store, it doesn't really matter. The better we all do, the better the customer experience. Yes, that's right, the customer experience, because that is our number one job. If we do that job really well, guess what? All the other pieces fall together, whether it's hours per RO, CSI scores, how many light items per ticket, everything. If the customers love you, they will come back. They will tell all their family, their coworkers, their friends, their priest, their rabbi, you name it, they'll tell them, and they'll come back to your store, and everything falls into place. So I'm always thankful for the great people that we get to come on the show. And this week, no exception, we got Sandy, the one and only Sandy Cerami on the show. So welcome to the show, Sandy.
Thank you, buddy. A lot of people saying thank God on that one. The one and only. There's only room for one, for God's sakes.
Well, we're thankful that we have that one and only here. Before we get started, I want to play a short video. We talk about tires, and tires is an interesting conversation because you talk to some dealerships, they said, we don't get into the tire business because we can't compete with the tire retailer down the street. Others, it's too much trouble. Yet another one will tell you that there's not enough profit in it. But guess what? If you own the tires, you own the brakes, you own the maintenance, you own the retention. So tires are very important. And I want to share a video. This is a conversation that a lot of people are not having. We could get into the walk around as to what its value is or not if you don't do it. But it's more than just telling the customer, well, Mrs. Jones, you need tires. It's going to cost you $1,000. Sign right here. Whoa, Mrs. Jones has no idea she needs tires. It's such a gradual wear item that she's going to think you're trying to take her for a ride, literally, especially if you don't have her touch the wear indicator on the tire. So here's a conversation that I've had and like to have, and I think you might want to check this out. So watch this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. 31 feet from where I'm standing. 31 feet. That's how much longer it takes you to stop. The difference between having new tires or tires that are in good shape compared to tires that need replacement. At 4:30 seconds, your stopping distance is 126 feet. At 7:30 seconds, your stopping distance is 104 feet. At 10:30 seconds, your stopping distance is 95 feet. Think about that. Now, if I'm a customer and you relate it to me like that, you have the customer walk next to you and you turn around and you both look at that distance. That's a powerful statement that you're making to them. Because let's face it, nobody plans accidents. And if you have that much more distance that it takes your car to stop, I don't know about you, but I'd be more inclined to say, how soon can you get those tires on? So think about that. All right, let's jump into the show. Sandy Cerami, welcome, man. Why don't you tell us, for those of you that might not know you, a little bit about you, how you got started in this business, your history, and then we'll jump right in.
Well, I'll give you the Reader's Digest version because I don't want to bore anybody, but I am a third-generation car brat. I was born into the business. My grandfather got into the business as a used car dealer that became a Pontiac dealer back in 1957. And I had an opportunity to get into the family business at a very young age. I can remember going to the dealership with my dad at the age of like 7 or 8. And I would go there on Saturdays. And I would take what I would consider to be work breaks. I spent most of the day at 7 and 8 in the customer lounge watching cartoons and raiding the snack machine. And then every once in a while, when I would hear his footsteps coming down from his office upstairs, I'd race into the shop and get busy for about 10 minutes and then run back into the customer lounge to finish watching my Saturday morning cartoons. But I always loved the energy of the business. I loved the people. I am probably the most disappointing car guy you're ever going to meet as it relates to the mechanical piece of it. Um, I love the people and I love the business aspect of it. And so I knew what I wanted to do at a pretty young age, Paul, to be honest with you, and went through my high school years, my junior high school years, working at the dealership. If I wasn't involved in a sport, then I was working after school every day, worked every summer there as a youngster as well. And I went to college on the Blutarski Family Scholarship sponsored by Anheuser-Busch, which means I lasted all of about a year. And they sent me a letter after that first year and said, please don't come back. Wherever you are, why don't you just stay there? And I ended up getting into the dealership full time at the age of 19 and have not looked back since. I'm 34 years and change, 35 years right now in the business. Had an opportunity to work throughout the entire operation from the front to the back, from the back to the front, body shop, parts, service department. The extent of my mechanical expertise was probably drilling holes in the bumpers to put license plate frames on and whatnot. I was not, as I said, mechanically inclined, but I did get a chance to spend time in the undercoating booth, the new car prep. Spent time as a gopher, as a valet, as a porter, as shipping and receiving clerk, and then moved my way up to a service advisor's role. Ran the service department for a couple of years as well. And then went up front, which is where I really always wanted to go. Didn't realize at the time that most of the fun and most of the money is made back in the back end of the business. But I had a chance to go up on the front end and spent 2.5 years selling, which was awesome. I learned just a ton from just legendary people that nobody would know their names, but legendary people in our neck of the woods. And then spent 5.5 years in the F&I box. Spent 5 years between the GSM position, desk GSM position, and then ended up as the GM and bought the store with my wife after my grandfather passed away in 2002, 2003. And we had a great run, all the way up until the little event called the GM bankruptcy proceeding in 2008, 2009, all the way leading into that. Yeah, it was not fun. At the time, felt like the worst thing that ever happened to me, to be completely honest with you, Paul, but it turned out being the best thing that ever happened to me. It was the most liberating experience of my life. It was cathartic, to say the least. I spent about 2 years walking the earth like Kane from Kung Fu, but started the business that I have today. And I feel blessed and fortunate because I get to do what I love to do every single day, regardless.
They say out of adversity comes opportunity.
Yes.
And there are two ways to look at when shit hits you in the face. You could look at it and say, "Oh, why me? Why me?" Or,
I did a little bit of that. Yeah, I listen. All honesty, my man. I mean, I'm human like anybody else. I had a little bit of that going on for a couple of months. Really was like we were at the point, quite honestly, where I sat in my driveway one day in 2009, early 2009, and I was in a used Cadillac CTS, an 04 CTS with 66,000 miles on it. And at that point, I was overdrawn in all three of my checking accounts, my two business accounts and my personal account. And I had the foreclosure papers for my house on the seat next to me. I was getting in the car to go to a place we call nowhere. I had nowhere to go. Wasn't quite sure what to do. I reached in my pocket. I had $11 in my pocket. I had a $5 bill wrapped by 6 singles and the change in the little change drawer and 3/4 of a tank of gas. And it was, that day I walked in the back door of the house with tears streaming down my cheeks. My wife, hadn't told her because I had 2 little kids and didn't want her worrying how bad it was. And I finally broke down and told her. And I said, I'm broke and I'm broken and I really don't know what to do. My wife, in true Mary fashion, says to me, stop crying. Like, enough. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. Get your shit together. I believe in you. And I had not really thought about myself in terms of believing in myself in quite some time. It had been a rough 1.5, 2 years leading into that GMBK. And got in my car and literally wrote the business plan for the business I have today at a Dunkin' Donuts in town.
Wow, man, that story gives me goosebumps, man.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what I'm talking about. yes, there's a period of pain, a period of why me. But some people choose to stay in that, and other people choose to use that as a springboard, if you will,
Yeah.
to do greater things. And you've certainly done that. I've been following you for a while. We had the pleasure of meeting in person at automotive events
Yep.
and have become friends. So this, I have a lot of respect for you, and I appreciate your struggle.
Well, listen, I appreciate you, buddy. I mean, we connected, if you recall, the first time at an NADA in Vegas at Scott Joseph's J&L Marketing booth, and we had a great conversation. I think you and I spoke for like 40 minutes. Like we just literally sat there just chopping it up. And I said, we're leaving content on the expo floor here. Like we need to be doing something. And then the funny thing happened about 3-4 weeks later. We had the lockdown from COVID, and
everything stopped.
Broke loose. So we're overdue.
Yes, we're way overdue. And speaking of we're overdue, I've got a bunch of comments to get caught up on here, starting with Timothy Wilson. Happy anniversary, Paul, and many more. Oh, for those of you not aware, my wife and I are in Aruba celebrating our 10-year wedding anniversary.
Happy anniversary, buddy.
Thank you. When I set this up, I made sure that we had Wi-Fi, and the Wi-Fi is perfect. I needed an extension cord. One of the content creators from the resort was able to help me with that, and I got to be in the resort's TikTok and Instagram commercials that they shot. So that was kind of cool. They're looking for somebody that wasn't shy. I don't know why they picked me, because
they found the right guy, buddy.
I'm still working on overcoming my shyness and all, but video's helping me through that. So everything was perfect, and I thought, oh, how cool. We're going to have waves in the background, moon, water. It's nighttime. You can't see anything but a black screen behind me, but Sandy says he does hear the waves.
I got him.
So it is true. We are coming to you live from Aruba, and the same thing next Sunday. All right, so thank you, Tim. Terry says, my man, Sandy Cerami. Hey, what am I, chopped liver, Terry?
Who's that? Terry Tourline? That's double T?
Terry Tourline. Yep, great guy there. Russell
great guy.
Good day, all. And let's see, Kenny D from Sugar Land, Texas. Savor the flavor of the awesomeness in Paul Meijer and Sandy Cerami for sharing their delectable nuggets of wisdom with us today. Russell B. Hill says, let's rock and roll tonight. Amen. Mike Fisher, Paul, Terry, Russ, and Sandy. Should our next in-person conference be in Aruba?
I like that idea.
I have no complaint with that one.
I'm giving a thumbs up vote on that, buddy.
What do you think, honey? Are we doing Aruba again?
I don't want to leave now.
She doesn't want to leave now. So.
Wasn't for the new puppy, I'd say.
Ed Shipolowski, my good friend. Hello, Paul in Aruba. Have your grass skirt on? No, Ed. We don't do the grass skirt. Although when we were in Scotland, I did go to a kilt store and get a full kilt outfit. And you know that Ancestry.com commercial where the guy trades in his lederhosen for a kilt?
Yes.
Well, as soon as I found out we were going to Ireland and Scotland and France and England, I said, I'm going to do a spoof on that commercial. So I found the first kilt store I could get. I got the entire outfit from head to toe, and I did a spoof on that commercial, dragging the guy into it. It was pretty fun.
Oh, that's killer.
I'll share it in the comment section here. And then the funniest part of it was when we were going back to the cruise, some people flagged me down. This Asian family flagged me down, and they wanted to take a picture with a local. And I don't know, but I don't look too Scottish. I don't think anyway. But they thought I did. So after the picture, I said, "Don't move." I hand my phone to the other guy taking the picture. I said, "Can you take one with my phone?" And they look at me like, "What? You're not from here?" "No, I'm from Connecticut. But when in Rome, you got to do like the Romans do, right?"
That is great.
So that was pretty funny. Michael Dean Offmuth says, good evening. And Russell B. Hill says, I think that I'm in on that. All right. I think we're getting a consensus coming to Aruba here.
It sounds like a quorum, Paul. We got a quorum.
I'm thinking. Steve Chesson, Steve Bay in the house. And Michael Weldon from the West Coast says, good evening, all. Michael Weldon says, hi, Russ. And John Bannon, hashtag step up to stand out with a
My
bunch
man,
of
JB.
strong arm emojis.
Yep.
Buddy Earl Sticks Brown, happy anniversary, Paul. Thank you. Josh the Young from Velocity Automotive Solutions says, good to see you guys. Thanks for tuning in.
JBY.
And my good buddy Steve Epicella, SNL from Aruba. Next level, Paul. Hey, Sandy.
Hey, Steve.
So, all right. So we got caught up on the comments. Companies spend a lot of money. Everybody takes credit cards. That was a very convenient thing, right? You had to have cash before, and back in the day, everybody paid with cash. It was just the thing to do. But then things got more expensive. People's finances sometimes got a little rocky. So then we switched to make it more palatable through credit cards. It's very easy. I didn't need to pay for my repair. I put it on the credit card. On the one side, it's great because you can track all your business expenses. On the other side, it's like, oh shit, I don't have the cash, but I've got the credit, and I need my car, so I can fix it right now. And then we learned the harsh reality. At the end of the month, when you're looking at your financials and you made all this great money, it's awesome. But then you look at fees. Those fees add up, and they're very, very expensive. Expensive. So I think you have a little something that can lower fees. Am I correct on that?
We do. You know, it's funny you bring it up because we did partner with a company called Priority Payments Local out of Red Bank, New Jersey. It's a national company, and they ended up, quite honestly, sponsored the event that Scott Joseph and I host twice a year, Business Bourbon and Cigars, and literally was stumbled upon them through a mutual friend that made the introduction. They had seen something about the event and started asking a lot of questions about it. I explained to them what it was. They immediately said, we'd love to sponsor the event. I said, great. You know, that started a completely different conversation. And I had been tuned into the credit card processing fee issue for quite some time. We look at a lot of different things for clients. Always looking to do one of two things. We want to either increase, gross profitability, top line revenue, or we want to decrease expenses and have a net, bottom line impact on the dealership. And when I started to take a closer look at what these fees added up to, in some stores, it's literally hundreds of thousands of dollars per year in credit card fees that they're paying. And with their net zero program, it made total sense to partner with these guys.
And the thing is that you're so excited about taking the credit cards, you're happy there's extra revenue coming in, but you don't realize until you're deep into it. And let's be honest here, we are creatures of habit, right? It's
Sure.
easier to just keep doing what we've been doing, even when it costs us money, than to look at something different that could possibly either save us time or save us money.
Absolutely.
And when you just look at the stupid amounts of money that flow out every month, in today's business climate, we are blessed and cursed at the same time. We're blessed insofar as we've got more customers than product, which is good because that drives the price up. But at the same time, we have less employees per customer. So that creates its own challenges. That creates a hostile environment because now the customer comes in with an unrealistic expectation of what they think customer service should be. Where you had 5 people taking care of 5 customers, now you might have 2 people taking care of 5 customers. But guess what? In their eyes, they expect 10 people to take care of 5 customers today, right? Tell me if I'm wrong.
No, you're absolutely right. It's funny, Scott Joseph and I are talking just today back and forth in the text thread about a couple of the mastermind topics for Business Bourbon and Cigars. One of the things we were talking about is, what are the skills that are going to be far more important as we move forward, right? Yeah. And what kind of abilities will we have a need for versus what's going to kind of become less and less important, if not obsolete over time. It's interesting to see a lot of these positions morph and become more hybrid, where we've got to be able to multitask. And, we look for 5-tool players, people that can do more than one thing in terms of skills and disciplines. And they become more and more valuable in the marketplace.
You have to. And because it's so competitive, it's not just about making more money, It's about keeping more money. Sometimes you
Amen.
can't make more money because you just don't have the product or the people. But guess what? If you can shave off 100 here, 50 there, 75 over here, you know, that's all real money. And that's the difference between staying in business long term and not making it. And there's a lot of businesses that have not made it.
You know, Paul, you raised such a great point. My grandfather used to say all the time, money is easy to make, it's hard to hold on to.
Yeah.
And it was such a simple but true statement. The funny thing is, it's not a penny saved is not a penny earned. A penny saved very often is literally thousands of dollars potentially, depending on the net bottom line in your store and what it takes for you to drive a net dollar in revenue or a penny in net profit. You know, a penny saved is not always a penny earned.
Yeah, no, and that's so true. You have to be laser focused today. And we see a lot, you know, look, we've seen a lot of Carvana posts recently, right?
Oh yeah.
Everybody jumps on the
They're
bandwagon.
turning the barrel right now. People are having a lot of fun using them as a trampoline.
But everybody's been through it, right? We've all been through it.
Absolutely.
All right,
Yeah.
talk to us. I heard about this thing, the 7 pillars of killer business development.
Yeah.
And 7 is a lucky number, so just the title alone got me interested. I'd like you to share with us those principles.
Sure.
Right.
So, you know, my right hand guy, Ron Marvo, and I have been really distilling down and fine tuning something that I've been using for the last literally 15, 16 years. I'm not a big believer in a pure selling model. I know there's the old Glenn Ross crew that wants to talk about ABC as always be closing. I have a completely different take on it. There's a lot of folks out there screaming into the mobile phone screens, your laptop and your tablet these days, telling you got to be a closer and I'm gonna, you know, turn you into an animal and you're gonna close more deals. And I have a completely inverse approach. I like to open folks up. I like to open relationships. And so ABC for me is always be curious. And that's what drives the 7 pillars of killer business development, because it's not just about selling. If we're going to get myopically focused on selling, we run a real risk of being self-focused versus client-focused. And so the 7 pillars of killer business development is all about starting with high-value differentiation. What makes you different? What makes you step up to stand out in the marketplace? And so we teach very specific strategies and techniques to develop differentiation in the marketplace. The second thing we do is help them build a personal brand. And that's such an oft overused term these days. We hear about personal branding a ton out there on social media. But the truth of the matter is it's not just about social media. Personal branding is about how people perceive how you handle yourself in the marketplace. And it's as much word of mouth and your website as it is just plain social media. Social media, a great tool and a great technique and tactic that we can use. But the strategy is to help build a personal brand that speaks to quite specifically how you want people to think about interacting, doing business with you, and what value you bring to the marketplace. And so we talk a lot about that. The other thing we focus our students on is figuring out how to establish themselves as the most trusted resource or expert in the marketplace, so that when someone out there that is a prospect doesn't quite know what to do or who to call, it's your phone that rings or your email inbox that dings with the question in terms of who should I speak to, what should I do, how should I do it, where should I be looking. I want to be the one to answer those questions for prospects. And sometimes that doesn't mean ringing the register. Sometimes that means just providing a level of service and some value without having to ring the register. I know that goes against the grain for some folks that are, those traditional, the killer closers of the world. But I play the long game. And the 7 pillars of killer business development is all about the long game, not the short, go for the kill. One of the other techniques.
Hold on there. The model has completely changed and turned on its head. And
agreed.
And to your point on that, okay, when I started in the car business a long time ago, I would always tell customers, if you need me, regardless of whether or not I'm here, I'm your guy.
Yep.
And I want you to call me. All right. And I'm going to give
100%.
you a perfect example of that. I worked at Lexus some time back. I ran their eBay store, shipped and exported cars all over the country, some overseas. You know that story.
Yeah, yeah, I do. I was going to leave it alone. I said, I'm going to leave that right where it is. What he's dropping, I'm not going to pick it up. It's all good.
I'll take bill of lading for $500. Inside story for those that know.
Yeah.
But the point is, I would tell the customer, if you need me, I'm your guy, call me. So I had a customer that came to me from California.
Mm-hmm.
Her mom lived in Connecticut, came to Connecticut to pick up an RX from me. Car went back to California. Years later, I get a call from the mom. I need your help. Sure, what do you got? You know the little leather key fob, the little leather thing that the key went into? The dog chewed it up. And I called Lexus, but they don't make them anymore. Can you help me? Absolutely, I'll try. Let me look into this. I'll get back to you in just a little bit. What do? I get on eBay. First, I called my buddy Andy Parts at the parts department. He tells me, no, I'm sorry, you can't get them anymore. They're gone. All right, next best thing, I go on eBay. I find I have to buy two of them. I don't even remember what I paid, but whatever it was well worth it. I buy them. I get them shipped to the lady's house.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I pay for them. This is years afterwards. I pay for them. I have them shipped to the lady's house. She says, what do I owe you? I said, nothing. You don't owe me anything.
Mm-hmm.
What? You owe me nothing. I told you, I made a promise to you. Look, if they were stupid money, yeah, I'd say this is what they cost. But for what they cost, really, my life isn't going to change.
Yep.
You enjoy them. Right? Wow, the lady was blown away. Somebody actually kept to a promise they made years earlier when they even weren't at the store anymore. Most people would have said, who's this?
Exactly.
No, I can't help you. So to take it one step further, turns out this lady knits. One of our businesses is the Nitty Gritty Yarn Girl. So my wife was doing an event in Hartford or wherever it was. The lady went there and bought yarn from her. All because of something good that somebody made good on a promise. So your point is perfect. Let me just get through a couple of comments and then we'll jump back into the 7 pillars. Sure. Bill Schomburg is in the house. This guy's a legend. I look forward to seeing in person one day, Bill. Orlando Spencer, hey, Paul Meijer, this might not be on topic. Can you talk a bit about what's going on with Carvana, the layoff workers, and is losing stock price? We'll get back to that before the end of the show. All right, sure. Fair enough, because I don't want to lose momentum on Sandy there.
No worries.
Jeffrey Mays, great synergy this evening.
My man, JM.
We're bros. John Bannon says, need phone skills throughout your business. Absolutely. Yes. Because a lot is lost on the phones. More is lost than people even know about on the phones. Because honestly, a lot of them aren't tracking it. And if you don't track it, you don't know what you lost.
Yeah, and JB will tell you half of the phone game is just showing up and dialing.
Yeah. And John says, always be caring, activities between customers. Yep. Love, always be curious, Sandy. No, I love that as well, man. Be relational, not transactional.
Amen.
Customer-centric, I call that. Orlando Spencer says, sadly, these principles are great. This is how I sell in our business. These books speak to the same. Strategic selling, selling to big companies, and spin selling. That was a good book, by the way.
Yes.
I believe that these are the values that we are talking about here that is missing in business development space. 100%. All right. 7 pillars. Keep going, my friend.
Well, I love the comments because they're spot on. And you said it before that business has changed, right? Folks don't want to be sold.
Nope.
But I'll tell you a quick story. I tell this story often, but I think it's relevant. When I was in 2nd grade, I had a teacher. Her name was Mrs. DeMola, and every day she would start the day off with a math problem on the blackboard, and she would put it up on the blackboard 5 + 2 with the equal sign and the line underneath it, and leave the space there for you to fill in your answer. And you got rewarded with a root beer barrel if you got the answer right. So as a second grade student, we'd have killed somebody for a root beer barrel. And so every day she'd start the class off, she'd hold the chalk up in her fingers like this and say, okay, who wants to solve the problem today? We'd all jump up and down like the Price is Right. And so one day she points to a kid named Darren. He's in the second to last row, last seat. Darren, come on up. He runs up. He swipes the chalk right out of her fingertips, runs up 5 plus 2, and he puts 8. And he turns around. And before he even gets the chalk back into Mrs. DeMola's hands, 5 plus 2 equals 8. The whole class is doing what? They're laughing at him. They're laughing at the poor kid, right? Because he made a mistake. He ran up there with such enthusiasm. He got nervous. He made a mistake. Everybody's laughing at him. That poor kid slinked all the way back to his chair. How often do you think that kid was going to volunteer to run up and answer a problem again Blackboard for the rest of the year? Never.
I'm thinking 0. Less than 0.
That was it. He was done. He was toast. He was completely humiliated. And that's how deep-rooted the fear of making a mistake is for buyers out there today. And so those are the things that we've got to be cognizant of. And that's why it's important not to be selling, but to be curious, to find out from their perspective what's most important to them. The last thing we were talking about was becoming the most trusted advisor or expert in the marketplace, because people are looking for solutions. But, to your point before, with respect to the Lexus leather key fob wrap, there's a halo effect that happens. When people perceive you as competent in a particular area, very often that competency will bleed over into other areas. I've been called for things like connecting a dealer who wanted to get involved in producing a Broadway show with, clients that I had in Manhattan that weren't in the automotive business. And so crazy, phone calls like that where you say, I never would have anticipated that phone call, but you can add value to the relationship by providing them with an introduction or a solution will happen as a result of the halo effect. So the next technique that we teach, which I think is critically important, and I'll tell you a quick story around it as well, is how to convert everyday conversations that you have into client opportunities or opportunities to add value to someone. And so that's why it's important to be curious, but to be relevant, right? Not just ask questions for the sake of asking questions. And a few years back, my son, who was playing club baseball at the time, joined a new team. And so I went over on a Sunday morning for his first game with this team, and I didn't know anybody. I knew one guy that had referred us to the team. He wasn't there. There was 5 or 6 other dads just sitting around on the bleacher side watching the kids warm up. I was having a cup of coffee. Happened to be standing next to a guy and struck up a conversation and introduced myself. He introduces himself to me, and he says, Cerami, is that the dealership on Route 17 in Paramus? I said, yes. It turns out that he was one of the VPs for Cablevision at the time, which then was bought out by Altice. But we turned a very simple conversation on the sidelines of a baseball game on a Sunday morning into a 5-figure contract about 6 or 7 weeks later, and 2 or 3 meetings after that. But I was curious as to what the challenges were that they were facing, and they were having a tough time dealing with digital versus traditional cable advertising. And, his team, he had about 115 reps out there in the marketplace between New York, New Jersey, and Long Island. Yeah. And we turned an everyday conversation into a 5-figure agreement with them. So we teach that technique. It's smart. It's a way to add value. We also teach how to build fat pipelines, because one of the things that becomes difficult is to gain momentum, right? We need momentum. Momentum carries us in business. And so we teach our students how to develop fat pipelines, using everyday conversations, using social media, using funnels, things that will gain attention, providing value with nothing, no expectation in return, but we create that pipeline of prospects by doing that. The sixth thing that we do is we help identify successful shared outcomes, right? To get on the same page and identify what success is going to look like in the future is so important to getting somebody to yes, which is the 7th pillar, right? Is we want to get folks to a point where they're focused on a yes. We've given them solutions and options that make sense for them, and it provides us a pathway to more and more yeses more often with more clients. Does that make sense?
With the end in mind, 100%. Because with the end in mind, you've had a conversation. Everything up until that point has led to, okay, so we've talked about the struggles.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about the desired outcomes. And when you have an intelligent conversation like that, it points to the desired outcome. If you're both on the same page for that outcome, it's natural that you're going to have that outcome more often.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We clear any of the barriers, right? Because
Yeah.
having smart, relevant conversations where you're asking relevant lines of questioning and getting the kind of information that you need to help them make them. Here's the thing that drives it, right, Paul? And I know you're going to like this because this is exactly how you operate. The objective is to gather and share all the information that we need to help the prospect or the
Win.
client make the very best decision possible for them. And if we
Yes.
can focus on that as our ultimate goal, everything else becomes easier.
Yeah, because it puts them first. It doesn't, I've told customer support 1,000 times over, it doesn't matter what we think. It matters what they think.
Absolutely.
Because if they buy into the numbers, then they win. And as a byproduct, we win. If we can't demonstrate that win, what's the point? I got a couple of comments here. Bill Schomburg says, Paul, we need to meet face-to-face for sure. Man, that is way overdue. Sandy Cerami has the best stories relevant to so many business situations. That is something that you and I share because we make concepts relatable based on previous experiences, right? I'm a big one for there is no substitute for experience. You could take a person that's come out of school yesterday that knows all of the latest, greatest technology. However, you throw a storm at them, now all of a sudden, the first wind that rocks that boat or that jet, now they're stumped. They don't have the experience to get out from under that. Whereas a seasoned captain has. Oh, I've been through this before. This is what we need to do. And they can guide them through. So I love how you operate because, quite frankly, it just makes a lot of sense. And Bill says, Sandy can, I just did that one. Steve Apicella, is our industry selling cars or earning customers? Right? Oh, I want to earn your business, or I want to help you. You're not helping me. I'm doing something for you, but it's not necessarily just help. It's business. Russell B. Hill says, hold on a second here. Earning customers in 2022, the difference between the two matters more than ever. Steve Apicella is always spot on, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
On point. Russell Hill says, amen. And John Bannon, at the end of the day, you must lead by their agenda, not yours. Our agenda doesn't even come into the picture. It doesn't matter. Our job is to figure out what helps them win. And if we can help them win, then by default, we win. If they don't win, we don't deserve to win. It's really that simple. Ron Marvo, I think you mentioned this name before.
My man with the devastating right hand.
As interesting, you have to be genuinely interested. Jay Abraham.
Yes, sir.
And Orlando Spencer says, that is absolutely right, Sandy. We have to help the prospect to make the best decision for them. And that decision must seem to come from out of their mind and their thinking, not us imposing our solution or thought onto them. That is the way they will expect it. I don't know if you're connected with Orlando or not, Sandy. But if you aren't,
the chances are we may very well be.
If not, I say definitely. He puts out great content. And although he's in aviation, you'd be surprised how many similarities between aviation and automotive. It's a different vehicle, but the bottom line is it's the same people, right? And ours and everybody's is a people-driven business.
No doubt.
Yeah,
we do. Listen, we do about 20 to 25% of our work is outside of automotive, to your point, Paul. And it really has very little to do with the product or service that's being sold. It has everything to do with understanding how people want to engage and how to build relationships, period.
And basic business concepts. I say the experience is important. Yes, it is. But experience in business business translates into really any business. You can take somebody that's not from automotive or not from aviation, but they understand the mechanics of business and how to manage people and how to motivate people and how to get to what it takes to get things done.
Yep.
And they can run successful operations out of their wheelhouse, because the bottom line wheelhouse is business knowledge.
Well, if you take the word car at a car business, what do you have? You have business. Right? I mean, it's just that simple. A guy by the name of Ron Carr, no pun intended, Karr, shared that thought with me early on when I got started in my consulting practice, because I was really myopically focused on one thing. I was going to train salespeople, place them in the car business. That's how I started my practice. And he pulled me aside at a National Speakers Association event and said, "Listen, you're way too thin slicing your opportunity here. You need to look outside of automotive." And I said, "Well, that's what I know." He said, no. He says, "If I give you car business and take the word car out of it, what do you have?" And I was like dumbfounded. I couldn't answer the question. I was like, "What are you talking about?" He says, "You got business. What's business? Business is people. You know people. Go to work."
You know, that term, that's a very Jersey term.
Right?
Hey, we know people.
That's it. We know people. I got a guy, Paul. Whatever you need, I got a guy. You know, the other thing I want to about is Orlando. What Orlando was alluding to is something we call guided discovery, where we use smart, relevant questions to guide a prospect towards the best decision possible. And it feels as if they're making the decision themselves.
And what's important with that is the fact that sometimes people don't open up to you readily, right? A lot of people do, certainly the ones that got referred to you or know you by reputation, because, you know, we could go somewhere and people will come up to us that don't know us. They haven't met us per se, but they know what we're about. They know our story. They've seen our content. They feel engaged enough that they want to share. But there are going to be many cases where the person doesn't necessarily know you. They only know you by reputation a little bit. And for those people, by having those guided conversations, you're gently leading them in the direction that they want to go, because you have an understanding of what their business is. Because let's face it, before we grant the meeting, whatever it is, we look up a little bit. We try to learn as much as we can about their business. Will we know it all? No, we won't. But we'll know enough to have those guided conversations that make it easier for them to open up, because now they understand that, hey, you know what? Sandy took the time to understand a little bit more about my business. He's asking me questions that are relevant, and this is doesn't have to be rocket science stuff, because you're smart enough to figure out what some of the holes are going to be in the process, right? And you talk to other people in that business. So that helps them to open up to you more and give you the information that we can use to help them. It's not to trick them, it's to help them. But the trust factor is always one that
That's it.
They don't just give it freely. You have to earn it in many, many different ways.
That's it. You know, a lot of times it's just matching your actions with your words, right? Yeah. So if you are going to walk it, if you're going to talk it, you better well walk it.
Yeah.
Once those two things don't match, trust is starting to erode immediately. And when trust is gone, you have nothing. Because every relationship, every good relationship or healthy relationship out there, whether it's business or otherwise, is built on a foundation of trust, period.
Yeah. Once you lose it, it's hard to ever get that back. We got a couple of comments. Orlando says, "Thanks for the reference, Paul Meijer. So grateful." Oh, my pleasure, man. I appreciate your support.
Yeah, Orlando, let's connect. Please shoot me a connection request. I'd love to connect with you.
And my good buddy Robert Sebastian, hashtag the Laminator, creating exceptional outcomes for clients works in any business.
Yes, sir.
Bill
well
Schomburg,
said, Robert.
Yeah, no, I love this guy.
Good man.
Bill Schomburg, spot on, Paul Meijer. Business is business regardless of the industry or vertical. Orlando says, "That's right, Sandy. It is important not only to know the business you're in, but you also need to know business." And Mike Vogel, the coach. "Hey guys, sorry I'm late.
Man.
Paul, I'm not on Aruba time."
Not many of us are, Mike Vogel, unfortunately.
You know what's funny is talk about island time. We went to the restaurant today. We got there a little before 1. Today, the chef came in at 1. Only on the island can you pull that off,
God
right?
bless him.
Robert Sebastian says, creating exceptional outcomes works in all business. Oh, he said that before. Oh, you had a typo, but I
Yep.
kind of read into that. Mike Vogel says, trust, value, convenience works everywhere. At least since I've been in the business, it has.
Yep.
Orlando says, that's correct, Paul Meijer. What we do before we ever sit down with a prospect, we research so much about them that by the time we get to them, it's almost as if we're working with them already. Bam! Approaching a prospect with that level of detail about them never fail to build rapport and engender some level of respect. Yeah, I mean, that's such a basic concept that a lot of people don't understand. So I love your 7 pillars. I mean, it's an A to Z of understanding, relating, and then leading to the yes.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
Now, we talk about increasing organic marketing and client engagement with your proprietary social media strategy. Now, social media, it may not be everything, but it's most everything.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can communicate through various different platforms a lot of information about who you are, who your company is, and what you're about. It's not everything because there are other mediums that you need to be in. So tell me a little bit about your social media strategy.
Well, I mean, we use a proprietary system called Social Media Math. It's designed for anybody, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, really makes no difference. I think people tend to get a little bit hung up on they've got to be the next GC, right? Or they've got to be the next, influencer on TikTok. I think you have to be realistic, and I think you have to be true to who you are. And so for a lot of folks, they're not comfortable getting in front of the camera or making videos or taking pictures of themselves. And so that inhibits them from really getting involved on the social media front and engaging prospective clients, right? So one of the things we talk about is committing to 3 posts per day on 3 platforms, and you can pick whatever 3 you want to. If you want to put 4 or 5 platforms to work, God bless you. If you want to post 10 times a day, God bless you. That's fine. At a bare minimum, if you can get 3 posts per day across 3 of the social media platforms, and I'll pick the 3 that we work on the most. It's LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. And you get 3 posts up there 3 times a day, 5 days a week. And we've actually got a social media math calc that we would gladly share with you. As a matter of fact, we'll put a page up for a freebie for anybody that's in the audience. I'll have Ron work out that tomorrow morning. But social media math is about getting more engagement by being true to who you are. So you're not out there trying too hard. The first thing that people are looking for on social media is authenticity, right? They're looking for relatability. Yeah, that's it. And if you aren't true to who you are, it's going to come across as contrived. It's going to come across as forced, and it's not going to attract the kind of engagement that you're looking for. Now, we talk about engagement. People get hung up on likes and shares and comments. I'm not so concerned about the volume as much as I am about the quality of the engagement and the interactions that you have. I would much rather have a smaller, far more engaged audience that I can speak to at a much more personal level and a relatable level so that we could develop an actual relationship, because I'm not looking to necessarily listen, if we had 1 million followers on each one of the platforms, fantastic. That'd be great. That's not where our focus is right now. We want to build it organically. I've never once gone out and paid for followers. I don't think that's smart. I think it's an utter waste of money. Because
they don't attend events.
No.
They don't buy anything.
Nope.
And they don't do anything. But yet people spend the money. I saw one guy who shall remain nameless.
Protect the innocent. Yeah.
there's 3 people on the show at the time, and an hour later, there's 15 million views. I mean,
Right.
come on. And 3 of the people that were on were him, myself, and my wife.
Yeah. I listen. We see it a lot, and for those that are in your audience right now, you probably know who the handful of folks out there that have invested handsomely in getting followers. But social media math is about 3 posts per day on 3 platforms, 5 times a week, 50 weeks out of the year, and you've got 2,250 posts if you can commit to that strategy. It's called social media math. Now, here's the cool part about it. If we just took a factor of 10, okay,
Yeah.
and that could be anything, likes, shares, comments, whatever the case may be, if you get a factor of 10 in terms of engagement on 2,250 posts annually, you've got 22,500 impressions in the marketplace. And I guarantee you that if you're doing nothing or you're employing social media math and getting, a 10x factor in terms of engagement, you're going to have a much different complexion in terms of what your pipeline pumps out and looks like for you on a regular basis, because the engagement is going to be there. Now, some folks out there have the kind of engagement where they're getting 100x factor. Think about that for just a second. Now you're talking about 225,000 unique impressions. It's ridiculous numbers. Now here's where it gets really exciting. And so if you've got GMs or dealer principals or platform VPs that are in the audience, this is what we teach your teams. And this is why it becomes critically important. That's just one person. For every 10 people, you can add a 0 to that. And if you've got 50 or 100 people in your dealership, then you can do the math just as easily as I can. But I will tell you that whether you're a salesperson, a BDC rep, a valet, a receptionist, a manager, a service advisor, a technician, everybody should be engaged and involved to whatever degree they are comfortable with. And so we teach them those techniques so that they can get much more organic and exponential reach into the dealership marketplace by getting everybody involved.
That's brilliant, because together you all build the brand, right? I tell people all the time, the more doors people open and see your face and hear your messaging, the more likely when they need you, not when you need them,
Right.
when they need you, the greater the likelihood that they're going to reach out to you, because A, they've seen a lot of your content. Now, the only thing I say is if the content is horrible, and let's be honest,
If it stinks,
sometimes
yeah.
it is.
Agreed.
If it's horrible, you can't stick to that kind of schedule, because then it works in the opposite direction.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because if it's horrible 3 times a day and on 3 platforms, 3 times a day, if you only capture 1/10 of that, they're going to hate you.
There's a few folks out there. Ron Marvo is laughing, as is probably Scott Trainer, the CEO at USA Motor Jobs right now, because we just had this conversation about a couple of individuals where the content is just so awful. And by the way, it's not to be judgmental. The reason why the content is awful is because it's very self-focused. Some of the techniques
not relevant.
Well, yeah, they're attempting to draw some level of connection relevancy, but it is not working. Let's just put it that way. So what we do is we teach techniques to post the kind of content that is relevant, that will get engagement. Now, I caution a lot of the selling professionals that are out there in the market. I see this every day. You'll know what I'm talking about the minute I identify it, with the post of them gassing up another delivery, or a picture of the client in front of the vehicle at the time of delivery with another happy customer. And I will just tell you that is of very little value in the marketplace, because it does not speak to what the prospect has interest in. They don't care that you just delivered another vehicle. They don't care about the person that's taking delivery of the vehicle. What they do want to know is they want to know answers to the questions that they may have. They want to be entertained by some of the content that you put up there. They want to be intrigued. They want to be provoked. And so a lot of times what I get is, well, Sandy, what am I going to put up there for content? Well, if you're on a showroom floor in a dealership in 2022 in the United States of America, then on your showroom, well, inventory is an issue, but your product lineup alone is 3 years worth of content. You couldn't possibly cover your entire lineup in a year completely. You'd need 3 years to cover 1 year's worth of product lineup. So we teach them Very simple 59-second video technique, so you can go short form
All you
across
need.
multiple platforms. And we do it in a way that tells stories, that engages, and talks to the experience that your prospect is looking for by owning
Yes.
the vehicle. You said before about the great Dr. Covey. We create content with the end in mind.
Yes, yes. That works. Got a
Yeah.
couple comments. David Boyle, the tire guy, David.
My
Boyle.
man, Dave Boyle.
The Sandy is
Dave Boyle's a
live.
big 7 pillars guy, by the way. Big 7 pillars guy.
And he's got a great product too.
He
Orlando
does.
says, great again, Sandy. If you search for the internet, you may find a single photo of me except for this profile picture. But we have learned that using social media to create a presence and saturate the space with our rich content allows our clients to experience our expertise sometimes before they even meet us. And he puts out great content.
Yep.
LinkedIn user, which is probably Lamont, says quality over quantity for sure. Sandy, love hearing your recommendations and insight. Me too, man. I'm so glad you came on.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you having me.
Michael Weldon, you both are spot on. Why do so many miss the mark?
That's the question. The great Jim Rohn used to say all the time, don't ask the question why. We got to ask the question how. How do we improve it? And, I think at the end of the day, it's going to have to be, each and every one of us is going to have to commit to being more client and prospect focused than anything else. That's it. That solves all of the challenges that we have in any business. Focus on what's important for the client.
And I would say that's probably the number one reason why so many miss the mark, because we're so used to what do I need to do to put you in this car today. It's not about that anymore.
I did a Facebook Live last week because I had somebody in town that had reached out to me because they were struggling to try and replace a vehicle in the household. And the guy said to me, I don't get it. He goes, every single ad that I see out there, every single person I talk to wants to talk to me about trading my vehicle in. They'll pay me top dollar for my trade. They need more inventory. We'll pay more than market. They need, right? All they kept talking about was getting their hands on this trade. And he said, all I care about is somebody will tell me if they can help find the next vehicle for me. I need someone to help me find my next vehicle before I even talk about trading my current vehicle. But they always start with the trade because that's what's important to them. And so I just put a quick, Facebook post up there that said, let's start using our head. Be the one that goes the other direction, swim upstream and talk about how you're able. Here are the 2 or 3 things that you're doing now that your competitors are not doing that's helping prospects and clients in your market find the vehicles that they're looking for. Could you imagine?
That's the simplest concept. The simplest concept in the world.
Sure.
But yet, how often do you see that?
Client focused versus me focused.
Yeah.
It's a difference.
I hate to say it. We don't see it that often. Thomas Pena, good evening. Good evening, Tom. Ronnie Siegel, WTSD.
My man, Ronnie Siegel. Yes, sir. Honda on Route 23. Write that shit down, baby. WTSD.
Robert Sebastian, this is some great social media wisdom being shared. Thank you. LinkedIn user, not Lamont. Ooh, it's Katie Lantier. Oh, wow.
She's superstar.
Yeah,
I just recently started interacting with Katie. I like her a ton. She's smart, gets it. She's got great personality.
We had a great time at NADA because we did, Albert and I did live streaming from the booth, digital IQ booth. Little hint, next week coming up, Albert Thompson from Driven IQ is going to be on the show.
Awesome.
Mike Vogel says, follow the example of dealers like Longo Toyota.
Not a bad one.
Yeah, 100%. Now, if it's okay with you, we go over a couple of minutes because I did want to get back to
100%.
Orlando's question earlier. We said we'd get back to it.
Listen, my man, you have a beautiful lady celebrating a honeymoon, and you're asking me if it's okay if we go over. You're in the driver's seat, so whatever you want, I'm with you 100%.
11 days in the tropics, the show must go on, so she totally understands it.
Good. There you go. You married well.
So Orlando, his question was, what's going on with Carvana, the layoffs, and things like that. So I'll give my take on it, and then I'd
Sure.
love your take on it, and happy to bounce back
Sure.
to a couple of other ideas, because there's no one right answer to anything.
Yep.
Okay. Here's my take on Carvana, and I'm no Carvana cheerleader. I'm no lover of Carvana. I am pro customer experience, period. I don't
Amen.
care who offers it, but the person that offers it, that's the person that I'm for, so to speak. All right. Now, I make it my business wherever I am, if I see a Carvana license plate, to go up to that person and ask them, hey, tell me about your experience. There was a guy in Jersey outside the diner, and what diner were we at? Was it Saddlebrook?
Yeah.
We're outside the Saddlebrook diner.
I know it well. It's my neck of the woods, baby.
I walk up to this guy at nighttime. That's a little crazy in itself, but nonetheless, I wanted to know. I point to his license plate frame before I walked up to him. I said, hey, I see you have a Carvana plate frame. How was your experience? He said, oh man, it was great. Every step of the way was great. And you'll love this piece of it. Okay. I said, were there any hiccups? This part I love. Yeah, there was a little hiccup. The truck broke down on the way to our house. All right. The truck broke down on the way to our house. That's a big hiccup.
The flatbed delivery truck.
Yeah.
Okay.
But these things happen, he says. The customer make an excuse for the company. These things happen, so we drove to meet the driver to pick up our car. It was really no big deal, he said. Right? So here's something that's a pretty big event, but the customer had such a good experience, they excused it right out of the gate.
Mm-hmm.
He made it a non-issue. He went there. I said, would you buy from them again? He says, absolutely. Okay? So the experience is great. Here you take a company, what are they around? 10 years? Not a long time.
Yeah.
And they shoot up from nowhere way up to the top. Now, who put them at the top? Sandy, did you put them at the top?
No, sir.
Nope. I know I didn't put them at the top. Hey, honey, did you put Carvana at the top? She's going like this. She didn't put them at the top. You know who put them at the top? Our customers put them at the top. And why did our customers put them at the top? Because for years, customers have been screaming they want a different way to buy a car. They don't want to be put in this car today for X. They don't. They don't want to fill out the Foursquare.
Mm-hmm.
I have yet to get an answer. When did the Foursquare actually, give me a date and time that Foursquare came about? Nobody's been able to tell me in my 43rd year in the business, nobody's been able to tell me when that's come out.
Yep.
But if you Google Foursquare, some not so good stuff comes up, right? A lot of not so good stuff, like run for the hills. If they bust this out, run for the hills.
Mm-hmm.
So who put them at the top? Our customers did. Why? Because we didn't listen to them. We didn't take them seriously. Now, there was another car. I think they're number one. I think about 30 some odd years ago, they did listen to them. And we don't even talk about that other company anymore. It's like we're in the cafeteria. That other company comes in. We take our lunch tray, we slide it over, we get up from our seats, and we walk away because we know those people are going to take our lunch. We don't even talk smack about them anymore.
Yep.
So, company grows real quick. What happens when a child grows really quickly? You ever hear of stretch marks? It happens. It's a real thing. You think what they're experiencing now with some of their issues might be their stretch marks? Yeah. Have we ever messed up on a registration? I can tell you I think it was 1983, no, maybe a little after that, a long time ago. We had two customers at the dealership driving each other's cars. Nobody knew it, but somebody switched the VIN numbers. Same year car, same model car, but guess what? I had your VIN number on my insurance card and vice versa.
Oh, yeah.
Has that stuff happened? Yes. The Maroney label. Why did the Maroney label come out? Is it because we had such an honorable business that we always were upfront with everybody? and we never took advantage of anybody, I'd like to say, yeah, that never happened, but it did. Hence, legislation came out, right? So what they're going through now is growing pains. Did they screw up? Absolutely, they did. Did they do it on purpose? Who knows? I'd like to think not. Anybody that's going to spend millions of dollars to develop a business, I don't think is going to intentionally do so to screw people. But that's my 2 cents on what's going on with that. I'd love your take on it.
Well, listen, I would say this to you. If you take a look at the math, let's just talk about the math for just a second. I don't know what the numbers were for 2021. I'm going to say they delivered probably just north of 300,000 vehicles in 2021. Does that sound about right to you? About 300,000. Yeah. So when we take a look at the overall pre-owned vehicle market, let's call it 40 million units, roughly between 40 and 45 million annually. We're talking about less than 1% of the overall used vehicle market that they have captured. Okay. Now, the reason why they've captured people's attention is because they've got a completely different business model than we've been using traditionally in the business. And so I believe that some of the animosity and some of the ridicule and some of the, piling on right now is because people, a lot of times, when you're climbing to the top, people want to drag you right back down and enjoy watching you fall. I don't think that everybody feels that way. I think there is a certain amount of dealer concern with respect to the ADESA acquisition, and I understand that completely.
Yeah.
I think it'll be interesting to see if a lot of the more vocal dealers out there that said they will no longer send their used vehicles through ADESA stay true to their comments.
After the bubble, right?
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Now, but after the bubble.
We'll see what happens, because I will tell you this. I'm old enough to remember the old local marketing groups, the way they used to be constituted for General Motors. And, I remember my dad telling stories. Guys couldn't wait to get into their car and get on the phone and call their GM to tell them, what they needed to do when everybody walked out. I said, okay, we're going to hold the line at a certain number. Nobody's going below invoice. And then the first one that got into their car was calling their GM saying, all right, we're going to take every deal we can under invoice. So, there's no honor amongst thieves, as they say, without not risking calling car dealers thieves. That's not my point.
No, not at all.
The point is, ultimately, are we going to be true to our words? I think that Carvana, you got to make a profit at some point in time. And look, a lot of people said that about Amazon too.
Damn.
And I am no Bezos fan at all, but I am a fan of Amazon and their business model with respect to their ability to distribute and deliver products as efficiently as they do, and how they are able to maximize transaction value and customer relationship value like we've never seen in history. Ever.
That's the stuff Steve Apicella talks about all the time.
Yes, he does. I had a meeting with Steve years ago at the Newark Airport Marriott, if memory serves me correctly, and I was wildly impressed with his acumen. He gets it at a level that most people don't. But anyhow, my point is that I think that Carvana's turn is in the barrel right now, and there's a lot of folks using them as a trampoline and have a little bit of fun at their expense. I'm not going to bet against them at this point. There's a whole shit ton of money invested with these guys. They went into their own pocket too, to the tune of like $400 million. Not just the credit vehicles that they have set up for the ADESA acquisition. I know their stock has been destroyed over the last 4 or 5 weeks, but which stock hasn't? Nobody is safe at the end of the day. So I'm going to say this. I'm not betting against them. I think that they've got some serious adjustments to make, because they need to get on the right side of the profit and loss ledger. Otherwise, at some point in time, they'll be swallowed up by somebody else. And it won't even be called Carvana any longer. So we'll see.
I believe that out of everything bad comes something good.
Yeah.
I don't care what the situation is. That is always the case, because what they've done is, that other company that's at the top of the charts that nobody messes with anymore, they kind of made it so that, I guess that's what customers want. And I'm no fan of theirs either. Okay. But now here comes along Carvana, and they've pissed off a lot of people along the way on the dealer side, not necessarily the customer side. You hear about horror stories, and yes, there are, but they've done, I think, more good than bad in the industry. And
I would
you
agree.
benefit from that too, because guess what? We as dealers are now doing things that a lot of us dealers said, no way, we're not doing that. And the customer has won as a result of that.
You know, Paul, back in the early 70s, nobody had ever broken a 4-minute mile. And Roger Bannister was the first one to do it. And I forget what the statistic is specifically, but I think within 6 to 8 weeks after he broke the 4-minute mile, a number of other people broke the 4-minute mile. And I think what Carvana has done in terms of a true online business model is they broke the 4-minute mile, and a lot of dealers have been able to improve their efficiencies and their ability to deliver the online experience, the same way or at least similarly. And it forced us to be better. So that's where competition has had a positive impact on the marketplace. Now, we'll give you one thing that I think I would say I'm wildly disappointed in based on what I've heard. Now, this is all anecdotal. I don't have personal experience with it, but I will tell you that the way that they relieved 2,500 or so of their employees and associates left a lot to be desired, just in terms of the way they communicated it. They took a page right out of the old school, car dealer playbook, not like we do it today. It's much different today. Dealers have become much better at this, but they just unceremoniously let people go. And the way people found out was not the right way. Just because they wrote a check for severance and for some healthcare benefits does not mean you just get a chance to wholesale dismiss people without so much as the courtesy of a conversation or doing it online with a Zoom meeting. I think that's bullshit. And I think
I agree with you.
Held accountable for that one.
I agree with you 100%. They're not the only company to have done that, and there are OEMs that are now and over the next few years going to let a lot of people go, and I can't say that all of them are going to get severance packages.
Yeah, I'm gonna at the risk of offending some of my friends in the OEM world, they leave a lot to be desired in terms of how they take care of people. A lot.
So there's no whataboutisms, right? A shitty way to treat people is a shitty way to treat people. It doesn't matter if somebody else did that too. It's just not a right way to do it. So
no, I agree with you.
I hope that Orlando, I hope that helps you to see, our kind of point on it. Got a couple of comments here. Steve Chesson says the Carvana philosophy is that the car buying experience is negative, so neutral beats that. Yeah, that's pretty simple.
Not wrong. Steve Chesson's not wrong. I see a lot of Steve's posts on LinkedIn. He's not wrong. He's a smart guy.
He's a smart guy from way back.
Oh, yeah.
Steve will pull stuff out of the archive, stuff that we're talking about doing today as if it's something new. There's not a lot of new, right? We've been in the business a long time, right, Sandy? There's not a lot of
we've recycled a lot of good ideas.
Yeah,
no doubt.
So Steve will, we'll talk about video, right? And Steve will pull out a video from the archives from way back, a walk-around video back in the day before anybody was doing them.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Chesson was doing them. So big props to that guy. Michael Barrich, hashtag raise the bar. I like that piece. On Fixed Ops Training. You are the man. He says the math works both ways. Stay real and authentic. Yes.
Yes, sir.
I've seen it both ways. And Ed Chipolowski says, why do people take cruise ship vacations? Because they want COVID. No, I'm teasing. I'm teasing. I'm a big cruise fan. We've been on lots of cruises, and we will go again. Just not this year. But we're going to go again for sure. No. But he says, great customer experience. No joke. It's like at the resort here. I swear to God. The guy kept coming. I had a mug that had a crack in it. I don't drink from cracked mugs. I don't know if it's bad juju or if it's the germs that could potentially get into crack. Maybe I'm overthinking this. It's possible, but I don't do it. But every time I call the guy over for anything, oh, no problem. No problem. Have a wonderful stay. Everything, no matter what. I could say, hey, what time is it? He'd say, no problem. Have a wonderful stay. He's probably got the customer service. You know, this is all you have to say. No problem, and have a wonderful stay, and you'll be fine.
That's it.
Wendy Reeves, our BDC friend Wendy,
Oh, yeah.
says, hey, Sandy and Paul, there's a lot of growth all over and scaling without the proper infrastructure. This is why trainers and consultants, people like Sandy, are so important now more than ever. We started the conversation together during COVID and beyond on CH or Clubhouse and social media. Now
Correct.
in person. Let's keep the conversation going. Let's go with a triple flame emoji.
I'm with you. I'm with you, Wendy Reeves.
100%. Timothy Wilson, great show, gentlemen. Paul, have a great time in Aruba. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Orlando, thank you so much for responding to that question, guys. Really brought some light to the entire situation from an eternal, I think you meant external perspective, or eternal perspective. I missed that. But yeah, no, I'm glad. I always, somebody asks a question, I like to make sure we go back to it and cover
Absolutely. It was a great question. I mean, it's a relevant topic right now. It's timely.
Yeah, right now. You know, and because the important thing is in shows like this and others, it's important to respond to the people. Right? I've watched other people's shows and I've made comments. I get no response. None. Oh, he says internal. Okay. You get no response. So you got to respond to everybody. And if there's something you say you're going to get back to, you have to get back to it.
Agreed.
Wow. So we went 17 minutes over, man.
Buddy, listen, I'm going over to finish up a client project. You have other plans, I suspect. And so I don't want to hold you up any longer. I would trade places with you in 2 seconds.
Not today.
But it ain't going to happen.
And not in August either when we come back for the wedding.
Exactly.
Oh, man, I got to go to Aruba again for a family function.
Somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to do it, Paul.
I'll take one for the team. Wendy says, enjoy Aruba, Paul. Great show. Hey, Sandy, again, thank you for sharing with the audience. I love you, man. This is
Right
long
back at
overdue.
you. Appreciate you.
And next time I'm coming through Jersey, we have to coordinate. Hey, maybe we could meet up at the hot dog place.
We'll either do a hot dog joint, we'll do a pizza place, or we'll do a diner. You pick. On me.
That's a bet.
Deal.
So, and for those watching now and those that are going to be watching on the replay, I very much appreciate the support. Have a safe and successful next week. Orlando says, happy trip, Paul Meijer. Thank you. And we'll see you next week on Sunday Night Live. I appreciate it. Thank you.